Keep it cooking in the oven. The oven. The oven. Yep. The oven. The oven. The oven. The oven. Yep. The oven. The oven smells good. The oven. The oven. Yep.
Franco, where are we? What are we doing? Who are we with?
Oh my God, man, we're back. We're back in the garage. We're back in the studio garage. This has been a long time coming. I know I say this a lot, but we were supposed to do this last month. We have a very special woman in between us over here. Behavioral psychology scientist and mental health advocate, founder of New Solutions Network, co-founder of Evermore, Dr. Natanya.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for taking the ride from Jersey. I know it was. How was the ride? Was it good?
Yeah, it was a ride. It was. I could do a lot of introspection.
gives you a lot of alone time, right?
A lot of alone time. A lot of calculations on brake lights and stopping distance. I felt very, very like I should take another driver's test once I pulled up.
I feel like I'm actually happy you said that. Every time that I'm driving, because I drive a lot at work, I feel like I always see like a new driver sticker, and they're always in the left lane. I feel the same way with Ubers.
Were you the one who was starting to tell me that you think people are putting new driver stickers on their car just because, even though they're not new drivers?
Yeah, just I mean, it's like the guys that like walking around the golf course throwing the marshmallows. It's like the same kind of thing. Just pissing people off.
What was your go-to fast food, by the way? You said you had a lot of fast food on the way here?
Oh my
What was
gosh.
Taco Bell had $1 tacos today. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
it? Nobody told me that.
Yeah, I didn't really want to talk about that, but here we go. Okay. I was
Put
like,
you on the spot.
I like those egg bites from Dunkin' Donuts, but I sort of say I don't eat fast food. But then when you're stuck for 2.5 hours, you eat it.
Yeah.
So those like egg bites, so you feel like you had something good for you, but it's fast, and I don't know if it's a real egg. But
You and Franco with the Dunkin' Donuts.
Right here.
If I'm going to eat some fast food, I'm going Taco Bell or a Whopper or something.
yeah, I don't really eat that stuff. Like it'll give me a stomach ache. So this is like the
But Dunkin' Donuts is...
well, and then I also had Froyo.
Before we jump into these questions, though, just want to let everyone know, remind them, we're the Oven Podcast. I'm Mario. The ugly guy over there is Franco, my Croatian co-host, a.k.a. Papa Fazul.
Papa.
Don't forget, subscribe on YouTube, follow us, Instagram, TikTok. Rate the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Give us 5 stars.
Or else.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, damn, she's on it. She's on it.
She knows.
And spank that subscribe button on YouTube.
It's all free.
It is. Speaking of free, we also hooked up with Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code OVEN at sign up, and we'll match 50% of your deposit, up to $500.
Essentially a free $250 if you do it the right way. So
Bang.
jump on, use promo code OVEN, and check every Thursday. We go live with Scotty Pickums, and we're giving out free bets every week, and we have been on fire.
On fire.
Literally.
Rico Dowdle.
Rico Dowdle. Oh, man. So, let's get right into the sports now that we're talking about it.
Get right into sports.
I know we were
Her
talking
favorite.
So, Natanya came with me and Ryan Vernell. We had a great time at the opening at the opening for Savvy Seats. It's a VIP tailgate right outside American Dream
At MetLife Stadium.
at MetLife Stadium. Yep, and
it was Giants and Vikings.
some characters, huh?
Yes. Real characters of all kinds, of all shapes and sizes. But the energy was really awesome.
So, Natanya, I want to jump right into your website. I took a couple of
Which website?
quotes.
Yeah.
I'm
like, which website?
knows
Which
which
thing?
website.
What thing?
I grabbed these from natanyawachtel.com.
Okay.
And I don't know, they struck a chord with me. So I have a few
Okay. All right.
points.
So we're going to be serious now. I got it.
No. We are serious and not serious at the same time on this show.
Perfect.
You gotta be ready to go at any moment.
I just got super serious with my House of Sacci OG Kush over here. So.
And I got my La Aroma de Cuba El Jefe. This is probably my newest favorite cigar, by the way. If you're looking for a good cigar,
Where do you get
the holidays
where
are
do you get
coming
it?
up. I got it at Matador Cigars in Massapequa. And again, it's La Aroma de Cuba El
La
Jefe.
Aroma de Cuba.
Yes.
She said that so much better than you just did.
Por
Well, the last
supuesto, yo
time-
puedo hablar solamente en español, so that's why I gotta do it that way. Cuba. Puro.
Bata la línea.
Dale.
That's cool. I like the rapper.
Right? It's nice.
It's very pretty.
It's huge.
So website quotes. I
Website.
gotcha.
We're serious. Back to serious.
Serious, yeah.
So, on there it said, find your life's purpose, feel your best, and transform your lifestyle. That was one snippet from a piece on there.
Okay.
And I feel like everyone in life at some point ponders their purpose in life. So, how does one find their purpose?
Oh, we are getting serious.
So when we were at Ohika, I jokingly said, I want to call our episode Behind the Oven Door. And we're going to go behind why we do everything and whatever. And we were being silly. But in a serious way, I mentioned that because that idea is what helped me come to this place and be sitting in this chair right now, from a place of being told I might not ever walk again. I couldn't breathe. I was 298 pounds. My first husband died, left me with a small child. Like, I had some stuff. Everyone's had worse stuff too. Like, this is not feel bad for me time. I'm just saying, if I believed at that time when I was in my worst way, health wise, mental wise, and otherwise, that I could live the life that I'm living now, I might have started sooner, but also I didn't really believe it until I experienced it. And now I became evangelical to tell everyone the story that you tell yourself of who you are and what your life is a story.
For sure.
And when you think I can transform, evolve, character swap, whatever words work, right? I can, within some realm of right now in this material world, things like, okay, I'm not saying I want to fly and I'm going to jump off the roof. So we're going to evolve, we're going to respect some laws about physics and gravity that we know for this time. I could be wrong on that, but for now I would say within that handicap of like, okay, some reality there. But transforming can be on so many levels, at a cell level, at a psychological level, at a consciousness level, at a physical form level, at an energy, at a vibration level. Like, I feel you, you feel me, all of that. But also how you show up and how you're received. And to me, that's transformation. It's like a butterfly. The butterfly's ingredients were already in there when they were the caterpillar, right? They were in the pupa. They become the goo, and they transform, but they're still the cocoon, and they're still the caterpillar too, even though they're a butterfly. And I think, we kind of forget. We think about life stages like little kid, big kid, adult, older adult, old person. And those are the kinds of changes we think about, right? We transform because we age. We get heavy, we get thinner, we get stronger, we get weaker, we get a new partner, we're alone, And for me, it is literally anything you want. And it might not be exactly how you want, but anything you want is possible. And so for me, it was that first part of believing that we can transform in some way. And so then I started to just be like, you should do it too, because most of the people who are struggling with addiction, struggling with depression, I mean, my platform is for sad stuff, right?
Yeah.
Addiction, suicide, depression, suicidal ideation, right? So most of the time, that base root is about, I don't belong here. I don't deserve to be here. I have no value. I suck. I'm fucked up, whatever. Sorry, I can say the F word, right?
You can say whatever you want.
You know, it's so funny. Every time, the first time, it's like every person curses on you. Like, wait, I can say that, right? I love it.
So that's why I wrote that, because I believe it and I'm living it, and I really want it for other people who might be stuck or feeling less than, or they don't matter, or they don't believe, to just feel like there's something else.
Yeah.
So that's the long answer to that.
I love so many aspects of that area, and I think, you know, when you say your story, it's your inner thoughts, you know, and what you tell yourself. And I found it so fascinating when I found out that the mind isn't able to fully tell the difference between what's actually happening in front of you and what you're telling it. So if you can use your inner thoughts and plant a story within yourself and get your mind to believe it, you can most certainly achieve it. And like from a neurological standpoint, that was so fascinating when I found that out. Like, as complex that our brains are, if you're thinking something and you have a random thought and you're getting angry over that thought, your mind has no idea that you're getting angry over a thought versus getting angry at something in front of you, which blew my mind when I found that out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do you one better. Think about this. You guys have probably, I'm sure, heard of the word or the concept of a placebo, right? One of the books that really like a lot of this stuff was I was not well and people were like, try this. I'm like, yeah. And I wasn't ready. So one of the books that I wasn't ready for when it was given to me, but then I finally opened, was called You Are the Placebo by a gentleman named Dr. Joe Dispenza. You're smiling.
Yeah.
And
I have one of his books next to my bed right now.
Becoming Supernatural.
Yes, that's on my list.
I know. I knew exactly which book it was. Because guess what? I do those tricks. That's how I know what you're going to say. So,
Read you like a damn book.
well, hence the I need to look in the eyes. So, but You Are the Placebo. It's important because even if you don't have the book or you're not a reader, I want to just get the point across that I worked in Western science in Big Pharma, right? So working there, the idea of a placebo comes up, and the word placebo, like this language versus a placebo-controlled trial, is on documents for every drug. We see it probably in my old job, I don't know, hundreds of times a day. Like you just kind of get used to it. You don't even think about it anymore. Placebo is the group that is given the non-treatment of a treatment when they're doing a drug trial, right? So if it's a heart medicine, it's called an inactive or sugar pill, a pill that doesn't have the other medication in it that is for, let's say, the heart disease. And that the group of people take that, and a group of people take the medicine with the heart disease in it, right? And then they see which one has a better outcome. Supposedly the one with the medicine should have a better outcome.
You would hope.
You would hope. I worked in mental health. I worked in a lot of chronic disease, also diabetes and oncology and cancer, but also a lot in mental health, where you'd think that you'd really not be able to just think your way through treatment. But guess what? In those diseases, the placebo group had a clinical outcome that was oftentimes pretty close to the ones who got the medicine. But it's not just in mental health. It's in surgery. It's in cancer. It's in every disease, every drug that went through a clinical trial. And that's kind of the toughness with the psychedelics, which we can get into because
That's on my list.
how do you really explain that? Like really think about that. How did someone who didn't have a cancer drug
Beat cancer.
beat cancer with a
It's crazy.
sugar pill?
It's absolutely crazy what the mind is capable of.
So I started to really think about that and really read about that, about all of these and I had my own spontaneous regression event. Like I had so many weird things going on medically that understandably, I wouldn't believe me if it wasn't me. Like if someone else told me, luckily I actually have, I have brought out like, these are my MRI, like because my spine, like I was messed up and I healed like Joe, the way he envisioned everything healing. I mean, I did it. I was also bedridden. So you have a lot of time to like really imagine yourself. It's in here. That's not saying very clearly to the audience, PSA safety alert, if you get shot or you fall on the side, I'm not saying don't go to the hospital and don't go to the doctor.
I'm better.
I just want to caveat.
I didn't just get shot.
I just want to caveat. What I'm trying to say is I believe now, and coming from like a very Western mindset originally, but I believe now personally, and again, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not currently a licensed therapist, but I believe from what I've observed and experienced and researched that we have so much more propensity to heal ourselves than in this country than we are taking advantage of. And that is not something that cares who you love or who you worship or what color you are or how much money you make. It literally costs nothing. And that's why I got really, on this thing, because it's like, it's for everyone. It literally can help you live longer, have better sex, have better sports function, be more creative. It's awesome. So that's why I became evangelical about it.
So, I mean, every time you make a statement, I have like 97
And I
questions
see them. I
and
see them.
excitement going around. But it will just, I'm the raunchy guy on the show. Let's talk about sex. Like, how can frequency and energy and all of that spiritually make sex a better experience for you?
Okay. We're going to sing first?
You want to sing?
Let's talk about sex,
Sex,
baby.
Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the bad things and the bad things that may be.
That's
Let's
my
talk
dream
about
interview, everyone.
sex.
Salt. I'm calling for you.
A little bit.
So,
I'm done.
just love them. So, two things. One is, again, I want to make sure I am accessible to everyone. So this is not to be condescending, but I want to make sure I don't use too clinical language. So if you think I do, please tell me to explain.
Because
I want to, I want to talk about this from a body system perspective. You guys have heard of fight or flight, right?
Yes.
Okay. Or this nervous system. We talk about the nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So there's a system, right, that is when you're in fight or flight, which most of us are most of the time in this material world because we were kind of trained to be that way, right? Stress, trigger, type this, call this, everything is so quick paced, right? Yep. And what happens when you're constantly in that fight or flight system, your body is making choices and trade-offs about energy and blood flow and those kinds of things, right? So fight or flight was part of our origins, right? When we needed to literally be away from danger or go towards something that we needed to capture for food or protection or whatever it would be, right? And then other times we chilled out and we rested and we, I don't know, like laid down actually in the grass with no devices because it was the prehistoric times, right? So we had downtime. And in that downtime, your cells repair or they do other things or you make music or you make love or whatever. This is going to go to sex. But
He's been waiting.
I know. This is like the long foreplay. And
I want to try a new trick tonight.
all right. Because fight or flight requires energy and sugar and different things to be released so that you can literally have the power, the adrenaline, the stamina to go run or go fight. But we only have so much. I mean, everybody's metabolism is a little different. Everyone's built differently, different energy, food that we eat, exercise differently. But you have a finite amount of that readiness all the time. So to have that ready, your body decides, well, we're going to shut down a little bit of energy and, blood and other chemical functionings for things like creativity, sex. Because we don't need that right now. We got to be ready to fight or flight. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's passively happening. And people don't even realize it until they get to see the difference. And then they're like, oh, But for everything. So that's why I said sort of performance. And that performance could be physical activity as sex, or creativity, whatever that is. It's all kind of the same thing. Those pathways literally have blockers in them because the body is like at the ready. So when you can tell the body, no, you can relax and, be good, lean into it and do other stuff right now, that's part of it. And a lot of that has to do with the thoughts that you have in terms of, how you're feeling in the moment. Like you said, the way you talk to yourself. But also things like how we breathe, super corny. Imagine paying people, how many jokes I've seen and movies and comedians make fun of people paying people to tell them to breathe.
It's insane though how it
but
actually
then if
works.
you study a little bit of what they call breath work and
controlling your breathing and slowing everything down, and it just centers you a little bit more.
One of the biggest things I heard Andrew Huberman just talk about was he was stressing the fact that an easy way to calm yourself down is focus and put emphasis on your exhales over your inhales. Like, never mind, maybe inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds. Yeah, there's all those other methods, Wim Hof method, all that stuff. But just by simply emphasizing the exhale is one of the simplest ways to calm yourself down.
Well, yes, because sometimes we inadvertently inhale with a longer beat. So like you said, instead of 4-4, it's a inhale longer that actually can trigger anxiousness, and the same thing with the fight or flight. So that's right. So to counter that, also, I don't know, this is probably sacrilegious. I personally don't think it necessarily matters which technique you're using of any of these things. It's really just telling yourself, oh, shit, I think I need a minute. Mm-hmm. I think I need to calm down. And I struggle with this. I get told this. Hey, I do it with my children. Hey, do you need a minute? It's okay. Let's go. And so whatever it is, doing the finger pinch, doing a breathing, it's really just committing. For me, it's like set the timer. I have this little shtick about the 1 minute mindset. Can you do something for 1 minute and dare people to take 1 minute a day, 60 seconds, and then just maybe you have to lock yourself in a bathroom or your car, not a refrigerator, but someplace private where you cannot worry about who's looking at you or who's going to think that you're doing something weird, and slow the fuck down.
Slow the fuck down.
Start to pay attention to everything around you. If you can look at nature in some way, it's under this umbrella of mindfulness that gets kind of made fun of. But what if you look at that from a medical perspective or an Eastern philosophy perspective around what does mindfulness really mean? Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that you have to become a master meditator. That sounds like something else. A master meditator. But it does mean that you start to sort of slow down time, because your minute can start to actually feel longer if you're actually thinking slowly around your breathing first, right? Then you got to do maybe an affirmation or a calming mantra, or maybe you have music or sound bath or binaural beats, or there's lots of tools, there's a lot out there. But whatever it is, to kind of check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? Slow down. You actually can measure a difference in blood pressure. You can measure a difference in resting heart rate. There's clinical long-term benefits by just doing 1 minute a day, a few times a day, maybe 2 or 3, start with that. And then all those other things you'll notice, if depending what your work is, just a little more endurance, a little more performance, a little bit better, an easier time falling asleep and staying asleep. And then ultimately, sex. Yeah, you can have more stamina. You can have bigger orgasms. Your body's just yay, we can relax now. I mean, it's so simple and so sad that we have to relearn how to have fun and how to love each other. And that's kind of what I'm on a mission to do. And it's so corny, but I'm glad you guys know, it's really coming from a place of, if we weren't all just so angry all the time and clenched all the time and shooting each other over parking spots and coffee orders, I don't know, maybe we'd be having a good time a little bit more, and the world is getting a little more aggressive and me. And, it really felt like, for me, coming out of where I was, I wanted everyone to come with me. I want everyone to feel like that. I want everyone to be like, I woke up today, so it's a good day.
As you should.
I use that line at the at work when I pass the security guard. She's like, "Oh, how you doing today?" I'm like,
"Yeah,
we woke up." No, I love all that. This is
I love the whole mental mindset of being able to slow time down, even though that's impossible. But again, it comes down to how you actually do what you do at that time. So for us, a big thing, I always go back to baseball. And my pitching coach, Coach Marin, in college, he was a catcher. He was never a pitcher. So he didn't teach us how to pitch. He taught us how to be a pitcher. You know what I mean? So for us, it was more, I'm sitting there doing, mental puzzles and, learning how, if this kid places a perfect bunt down the third baseline, he has 4 seconds. I have 3. So it's just slowing yourself down and, not letting shit hit the fan. It kind of, it translates into real life. You know what I mean? From the field to real life. And it's I owe him so much for that. Just teaching me how to be a person on the field, taught me how to be a person off the field. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
So this is called the oven. And there might be some cannabis involved at times in your lives.
At times.
At times. And the reason I'm going to mention that to say is, it's kind of especially for cannabis, and so when I say high, it's not quite the same in other compounds, but in terms of the high in terms of your brain activity and what it kind of looks like and feels like when you have THC on board and when you do meditation or breath work, it's actually all the same.
Really?
It's very similar, right? So
I was gonna ask about this, so I'm so happy this is brought up.
So meaning that it's basically a state of mind, right? So you can actually get, and in fact, I've been doing, training to be able to do that, so that if it's not a per time that is appropriate, how do you get that state? And there are tricks you can do to essentially mimic that and teach your brain to put yourself in that state, which is a whole another topic. But I'm just saying, that lightness of feeling like you're floating, but you feel it even in like your shoulders, right? In your neck, in your jaw, like that relaxed.
The weight is off.
The
your
weight
shoulders,
is
literally.
off you. That's what you're going for. That's what this whole mindfulness stuff is. It's literally like getting high without getting high. It's the natural high, but it tells your brain and body everything's okay. We're going to flow. We're going to feel good right now. And you don't even have you don't need anything on board. I'm not telling anyone to do or not do things unless you're a danger to yourself or others. But I'm saying, since you know what that feels like, you can understand why this is really powerful. And it's something that, there's a whole country in Bhutan. There's places where people do this kind of meditation, deep meditation work. And it is transcendental. That's why they call it, because it is getting you similarly to the way you get a high, where you kind of come out of yourself and the world seems a little bit less, like the little minutia seems less important, right? You don't see a lot of people who are high on cannabis starting brawls. No. It's just not that kind of thing. And why is that? Because little stuff, I bumped into you. Oh, sorry. It's all right. Even men who, you got drop my thing. You hit my, whatever. Like, it's all right. Like maybe things will irritate you, but you don't have that immediate, like, ugh. And that. And so that's what I'm hoping people can find in whatever way works for them.
So I guess my biggest question now then is, okay, it's similar to meditating. It's similar to mindfulness. Why do some of us then become more paranoid or more anxious when we use cannabis?
Can I answer that right here?
Yeah.
Right here. That's why. Because you're thinking about it, right? You go. I feel like if you go in with that, like if it happens once, you go in with that mindset, like, hey, this is gonna happen again.
Yeah, that's a part of it. So you can actually induce your own anxiety thinking about, I might have anxiety. That's very fair and very true, because again, this is an electrical box that needs programming.
Yeah, 100%.
And then you give it a program, it's going to run that program. The other thing is, I'm not an expert in cannabis, so to be very clear, this is just like an unformed opinion, but I do understand a little bit around different strains, processing and formulation have different like chemical clinical properties, right? So certain ones bind to different brain receptors than others in a little bit different ways. So there's like so many variables in there that also are nuanced. So again, it's where you got it, how it was taken,
how it was cultivated,
how it was cultivated, and all of that, and the strains. Some of them are going to bind to different receptors in the brain that are more likely. That said, I'm just going to say it. If you have underlying other psychological, and I'm not even going to say conditions, I'll just say factors, like potentially ADHD, anxiety, OCD, other things that mean that you're firing at a pretty rapid, and you may even have between your two hemisphere a lot of firing. It's just more likely that those pathways will get triggered and go down it. So I would say, think about when you consume. Are you always getting it from the same place, done in the same way, or are you varying it and you do notice a difference? Almost like make yourself a lab. I have to do my THC response journal,
for sure.
but like make yourself your own test subject would be one thing, or ask around if you have a network or association of people and say like, this is my thing, and there are experts in this. That is not me. And then the other thing is, I would highly advise that before you consume, if that's something that happens, that you really put yourself through a little bit of ritual. And I would say it has like 3 things to it. Yes, breathing, some movement. And so this is another thing that I love doing with like big guys. I like getting them to like go roller skating and do yoga and stuff that they like think is silly or stupid or not their thing. And then they like,
and they love it.
They love it because it shakes you
I
out.
was one of those big guys.
Yeah.
Back in
It
college.
shakes you out of your like regular, and it moves energy through you and yourselves in a different way. And it really literally will also help with that nervous system reset. So you'll be chill, and then the THC comes on board. So you're not like revving up a revving thing that's in the background. So especially if you're having like a stressful day or whatever, that's a day you might have some more anxiety. You probably anecdotally have experienced it like that.
I feel like the weed having the stigma behind it that it's a drug, also, it's intimidating for some people. And even though for someone like yourself, or like even some of our buddies, they stop smoking because of the anxiety. People think it's a drug. So I think it's the same thing with mushrooms. You know, when people come up, they want to eat mushrooms. They want to microdose on mushrooms. They're expecting to trip. They're expecting to, you know, feel the full effects of mushrooms. And I think they kind of just psych themselves out a little bit before, you know, the actual ingestion or the smoke, you know, it comes on. I think again, just a very big mindset. You know, it's
Dr. Franco.
Did I pass?
But speaking of the mushrooms, I'm ready to jump into psychedelics a little bit.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I wish we had some.
So Franco and I are big believers in natural medicine, right? We're pro cannabis. So I know what your take is on psychedelics, but for the show, I'm going to ask you what your take is on psychedelics and its ability to improve cognitive function and even heal neurological pathways. Can we talk about that?
I'm like, did I write that on the website or in a paper?
No, that's from up here.
Oh, okay.
I was like, he copied and pasted that shit.
I was like, wait, is that from my
Come on,
paper?
you know this is my shit. I was looking forward to this.
All right, so let's get into drugs. All right, so psychedelics.
Yep.
So I got into psychedelics from working in pharma and mental health products before a drug comes out in the market. The very exciting first few years of that is a lot of research and trials and things like that, and looking at what if it's the new formula for a kind of a disease or condition that's never been there before, or if it's like a new kind of something. So one of the last set of projects I was doing, we were working a lot in PTSD and with the military. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I have to fix my legs. So for a product that was a pharmaceutical product, right? And it had studies and trial. And throughout this early time, we're gathering all of this research around what's been done all over the world to help PTSD. And so it was supposed, it's the focus from the assignment I had was more pharmaceutical products, but there was so much research that just kept coming up with psychedelics. So I read it, and my teams read it. And I was like, holy cow, this is incredible. Mm-hmm. This isn't people saying, maybe I'll take a shower this week, improvement scale, maybe I'll walk the dog, or maybe I finally can have sex again, or whatever the issues were that were pretty, sadly limited in terms of the improvement. It wasn't give it to 100 people, 30 people feel something after a month. It was give it to people in this controlled setting, and almost everyone had a positive response, and almost everyone had a full or dramatic improvement that was sustainable for at least 6 months, and up to, they don't have full longitudinal, long-term studies yet, but longer than the mental health other compounds were. So again, I'm not bashing pharma. I'm just saying, I said, whoa, what is this? Yeah. But I was afraid of drugs. So that's the other funny part. So I don't drink. And because I'm not good at it. I'd never taken ketamine. I knew what these compounds were and psychedelics. I still haven't done, a medical dose, but I was like, I don't know what this is, but I want to know more about it. And so I just started leaning into that and finding out how I could get involved in research, because that's the first place to go. And the more I started looking at, and then specifically psilocybin, mostly because of what you said, it comes from the earth and it doesn't really need a manufacturing process. Yep. It just can be dried and consumed.
Yeah, dried, cured, and out.
Well, that's why Big Pharma doesn't like it.
Absolutely.
Well, because they can't tax it.
There's so many layers. We'll go into that if you want. Yes, and
we'll save that for next time.
For next time. I don't know if actually other people really care about Big Pharma and things, but it is kind of sad, because what we do is they're trying to separate all the other parts of why these things have been used for thousands of years with other cultures, not as a take a pill and feel better. And that's the difference with any of these things, CBD even, THC, CBD, psilocybin. It's not just putting this thing inside you and being like, fix me. Yeah. You have to make honestly, higher spiritual connection with yourself and the universe and this medicine. It's been documented. When people do it as a ritualized, purposeful commitment, that's when they heal.
Yeah.
If you want to get high, and I'm not making fun of that or judging that, but that's kind of a different thing.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's are you using it for medicinal reasons or are you using it for recreational
And you have
reasons?
to have a focused, basically, instructions to your brain that you say, I'm taking this and this is what I want to feel. And then it literally starts you to be primed for that. And for the psychedelics, I started to get upset about the restrictions and seeing that people in their, what they call the right to try, people in terminal cancer are allowed to use some of these substances, and found that, for example, they made peace with their their death and incredible things. And I think, why do only those people get to take this, So that's what kind of started me in the advocacy and to understand it, researching. The other thing that's fascinating, well, I'm no spring chicken, is we're aging. And there's a lot of science around how these things not just help you feel better, but they help at a cellular level restore cellular function, just like stem cells and other things. So if it can give you new instructions, you can give you new instructions for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like, this is me. And everyone's like, what do you do? I'm like, mushrooms. And I mostly mean like reishi and chaga and functional mushrooms, but still, mushrooms are life givers. Think about it. They
Come from the ground.
They come from the ground. They eat us too, or animals and plants. They decompose and they build you back up, and they grow from anything. And so they do that within our cells. And so we're looking at it in really interesting places like dementia and Alzheimer's. But also, if you take psilocybin on an empty stomach, you can reset your gut biome. And we also know about the gut and the brain health connection too. A lot of people, half of this mental health, that was a dangerous thing to say. Many cases have been found to be correlated to diet, like what we eat, all the processed food and the junk. It literally, your body doesn't know what to do with those chemicals, and it just puts them in random places, and you don't actually get the nutrition and instructions to fire up your cells the right way. So yeah, mushrooms.
Well, we've said this before. I mean, they're really seeing now the gut is the second mind, right?
Or perhaps it was the first one.
Wow. Don't blow my mind like that right now.
Well, just that when we were smaller cell, like lesser celled organisms, right? Like it was a digestive tract, right? And there's more neurons in our abdomen than an entire dog's brain. Like, think about all the things a dog can do.
That's actually nuts.
Yeah.
So the second so the stomach might be, the gut might be your first brain, and then you just grow.
Well, think about, what do they say? What is intuition? Right?
Trust your gut.
Yeah. What does that mean?
It's really a thing, I guess. Now it's more than just a saying. It's
I mean, I could really creep you out. Do you know that the bacteria? It's really like we're basically a host for bacteria, right? And so the bacteria, they're finding, have more and more sentient capabilities than we're aware of, like stimuli. They can, So there's a lot that we don't know that we're just learning. But also other cultures kind of have known for a long time. They just didn't use the same way to describe it. And so now we're using Western science tools to be like, we discovered the thing that, they knew about that 5 years ago in China already. But congratulations, Western medicine.
Yeah, good job.
So we're still figuring out.
we're
so
behind
much.
on 5G, and we're behind on, things like that.
Exactly. But so I think that, there's a lot that the pharmaceutical industry does that is very important, and I want to be really clear about that. And my issue is actually less with pharma and more with insurance, although I do need those guys too.
Don't get me started on
But in
insurance.
terms of like the systems that were created, and are they really helping us or not? And I want to still be open-minded only because it doesn't hurt. In terms of that, we can evolve some things over time. There's a lot of people doing a lot of work in Washington and advocacy, trying to get us protection, trying to get us access. We're doing more with global studies in ways that we used to not, because we just have to. The tax on, and I don't mean tax like income tax, but the toll on our whole society, because people can't see the doctors, or people are just going to emergency rooms because they can't afford regular checkups, or they're taking pills upon pills upon pills, but they're not really having relief because of all these other systems. Like, we're just a bunch of body parts. So I want to believe that some change can come, but it's slow going. And so I think that the plant medicines, listen, it's like anything else. Are you going to drive a car? Are you going to operate power tools? If your brain or your mind is affected, you need to have caution. There should be rules. I'm not saying we shouldn't have regulations, but I do feel that we should be allowed to use all the tools in the toolbox to heal ourselves.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
You
Make it a
brought up-
holistic approach.
Yeah, making a holistic approach. I mean, you brought up, Alzheimer's. It piques my interest, and anytime that gets brought up. So in your research, have you found like benefits from psilocybin? In early onset Alzheimer's?
Yeah.
Alzheimer's?
So the reason it's being looked at is, and Alzheimer's is a funny, has had its controversy with just like vaccines and autism and all this stuff, where someone maybe misrepresented data or did something. So like every category has some problems in it. So I never look at just one study or one thing, unfortunately, because people have different motivations, right? But there are many studies globally around what happens with the neurons in the brain that get stimulated. This is me. This is a stimulated neuron. It looks like some kind of naughty thing. Stimulated to start to look to make a new connection. You know how I don't know. Should I explain about like the why? I don't know, but if that's clear. But basically, those connections are how information spreads and is shared and is stored. It's like a highway. And imagine a
It's
highway.
like if you're not
of
stimulating your
interconnected-
girlfriend, she's gonna look for a new connection too.
Basically, exactly. So you're gonna wire up all those links and be on and be able to like pull information from here to use it over here, that kind of thing. And then sometimes in Alzheimer's specifically, there's these things called plaques, or like basically imagine these like blobs that start blocking that from happening.
Okay.
It's not a scientific way, but it's
No,
generally
it's-
that. And so there's a couple things. Number one, there are other things before we also treat like what's going on maybe with psilocybin, to say inflammation of the brain, like swelling and sugar from chemicals from, sorry guys, alcohol, big time. Dental, not taking care of your teeth, all the things that we don't really think about that actually cause it, like low-grade inflammation, especially from the neck up, affect the brain too. So in Alzheimer's, there's like a really high correlation with people who smoked and have Alzheimer's, for example, because smoking, sorry. I'm like, sorry. The cigar.
I don't
smoking.
Inhale, I don't inhale the cigar.
Smoking. No, but I just mean like it's
He
all
doesn't
it's
inhale,
all
he
connected.
said.
It's all about the flow of the good energy, the bad energy, the blood, the connections, right? So that's like something you can do to protect for those things, is to kind of work in those areas. And then the mushrooms help. Also, it doesn't have to be psychedelic too. There's one particular mushroom called lion's mane. It's like a white, bushy looking. You've seen that?
Yep.
I take a ton of it. It's not a psychedelic, and it also has been, and they're doing trials with that in dementia and Alzheimer's as well. It starts to send a signal to the brain, almost like, wake up, pay attention, we're here. And then it does a little bit of like neural firing. And then the more you take it, and then I believe it's also about what you do. So there's studies, there's one fascinating show once with these nuns, and they were able to, it's kind of morbid, right? Post-mortem, after they died, see their brains. And so they found that there were these nuns who had the plaques of Alzheimer's once they were dead. They saw this in the brain. But in their life, they didn't display a lot of the developmental problems that other people with Alzheimer's did. And they were like, why? And so there were those few things that they looked at. What made these nuns so different? Was it genetics? Was it what? It was three things. One, their diet. They didn't drink, and they didn't eat a lot of processed food. They ate regular food. They weren't all thin BMI. They were different weights. They were different ages, right? But they ate like real food. They had good oral hygiene. They didn't smoke. And they were active in their minds. They did puzzles. They did problem solving. They were engaged in the community. They were talking with people. So the problem that happens, it's like a compound thing. When someone is a little bit older in the years, maybe they're alone. They're less stimulated. They're more like watching TV. They're sedentary. Now they're also, because of the dementia or Alzheimer's, they're getting told like, you can't do this anymore. You can't do that anymore. So then they literally, it accelerates the advancement of the Alzheimer's and dementia, because those things don't help counter the brain and keep it active and keep it kind of fighting to do its job.
So just to piggyback off that, so you said you can see signs post-mortem of some of the neurological blockages, right? But yet they're fine. So you touched on sugar. I know a lot of the rest of the world, they don't call Alzheimer's Alzheimer's. I know there are certain places where they call it diabetes type 3. Are you a believer that Alzheimer's is actually diabetes type 3?
That's a broad stroke question, but I think it's fair to say it's pretty tied to sugar. And sugar isn't just sugar like my favorite Froyo that I just had sugar. It's also white flour sugar. It's any simple carb sugar. So sugar that doesn't get broken down, that you don't need, and is quickly, passed through. It goes somewhere, and it builds up stuff in the brain that you don't need, and a little bit. So moderately, yes. I believe. I believe it is a fair way of I think it's a fair way to look at it. Mm-hmm. And also because they want people to see that it's not something that just happens to you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's really important. It's not to shame or blame anyone who struggles with any kind of chronic health condition or addiction, I swear. And myself, I have a food thing. It's not a secret, right? So I'm not trying to shame it, but I am saying there is power to say, I might get a hold of this. I can get a hold of this versus I have this, that's it. Or my dad, that's it. The end. He has this.
This is also fascinating stuff.
I don't know.
I feel like you're blowing Franco's mind. I'm watching Franco's eyes in his head like turn, his eyes widening up. I'm like, you are blowing his mind right now.
I feel like we're being very serious.
No,
this is amazing.
No, like this is like informational in like the sense like I didn't have to read this in a textbook. It all made sense the way that you correlated that, and like I don't know, it's like real life experience kind of stuff,
Yeah, I think the other thing is that I feel like we're made to, at least from like the Western medical way in the U.S., we go through life, whether it's sports, corporate world jobs, blue collar jobs, the music industry, like so many areas. That's why I'm talking to all these different kinds of people and seeing, yes, there's definitely different kind of culture divides, things that are like you do this in this industry and you don't do it over here or whatever that is. But also some of the things that are just the same, they just kind of play out differently. And a lot of them have to do with things are happening to us.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I had to shift. I'm like, no, I'm making my reality. I'm making myself in this world. And I'm deciding my health. Again, there are other things and there are some, let's say, ranges of what is realistic, meaning, and I say realistic, that's maybe not the best word, but plausible for healing. So, if you're in your 80s, I'm not saying you can take mushrooms and cut out sugar and now you're going to go run a marathon. But maybe I have seen people heal at all ages who were wheelchair bound, myself told maybe never walk again, with, really bad stuff. I have MRIs to show that things healed on their own without surgery. Took a long work, a lot of movement and a lot of patience, but meaning things can change. We're not fixed. Mm-hmm. Literally, we have cellular change all the way till the end. So why not? Why not? But you have to kind of really believe it. And that, I don't know, for a lot of us, that's, most people are like, nah, I tried. Nah, can't. No. Think about anyone you've ever tried to get someone to see something a little differently or do something a little differently. The first thing they usually tell you is no.
The one sitting to your left is... I got to start telling him the opposite of what I want him to do.
Yes.
Because it's just a chain reaction.
But he's got to find for himself. Yeah, you.
That's it. We're all our own individual.
So I know we're late. Your sister's giving us the look, but when are we gonna like crack open the vault? Like about you guys.
Oh,
man!
we gotta save that for another day. We'll do that in season 3.
Season 3
after the sponsor checks clear.
yeah. Season 3 actual behind the oven.
Exactly. So this was super informative. I still have so many questions. I know that the viewers are still gonna have so many questions because I feel like we could talk about this all day. So where on social media can they find you if they want to hear more of this stuff?
So yeah, I guess we made a mini show before the show because I have some TV stuff coming and I couldn't wait. So we decided to start a video podcast, and the working title, I guess, is called the Natanya Experience. It's hard for me to even say it, the Natanya Experience, because I thought it was kind of a joke name, but now it's the Natanya Experience.
No, I like it. I like it a lot.
And so I talk to different kinds of people about these, their journey in life, how you got from where you were, and I talk to people game mindset and do stuff with Fox Sports. We talk to professional athletes. We talk to psych and hip hop. We talk with hip hop stars and artists. I have stuff within the financial sector. So we talk with different kinds of people about their transformation, but we also talk about kind of integrative, alternative therapies, things we're healing people are into, because there's not one way to be better. And that's my point. I don't want everyone who sounds like me and looks like me. I'm not the expert by any means of anything except for, I don't know, bullshitting with you guys. I'm good at that part. But
Expert.
I am available. My name is Natanya, Natanya Lasagna, to remember it. And you can find me on those interwebs. Oh my God, look who's
Oh, she's getting a call
from Ryan.
from Ryan. Speak of the devil.
Look at her, look, she got the little mushrooms on the phone case. too.
Wow.
I love it.
She's all in.
I am all in. No, I really think they're magic.
Actual magic.
Magic
Actual
mushrooms.
magic. I think that's why. And the reason I'm trying to get, because I was so, I'll leave this, I was nervous to study these things and be affiliated with these things. And I was like, I don't want people to think I'm associated with drugs. And my girlfriend was like, Natanya, you've been in pharma for 20 years. I think you're affiliated with drugs. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's
Natanya,
stupid.
you are drugs.
You are drugs. I'm like, oh, okay.
You're a legal Pablo Escobar.
So basically, right? So I want to leave you with that, these things, whether we're talking about psychedelics, we're talking about cannabis, whatever, I do have to do my teeny little PSA before we go in terms of especially men. Sorry, I love you guys, right? But why do men have bad trips more often than women?
Repressed trauma.
You're less likely to, be in touch with yourself and your feelings and your other things like that. So I do want to say that's why I don't think this is like a game. Like any kind of getting high, whatever your purpose is, once you cross that barrier and you kind of lose some of your maybe control or your faculties or this kind of stuff's going to come up. It's not the trip that's good or bad. It's you. And it's your stuff that you have and in the environment that you're in. And maybe there's going to be aggressive stimulation and it's in your subconscious. But I would urge everyone, and that doesn't mean I'm saying everyone has to go to therapy now. I'm saying that use these things with respect. Use them as tools and you can get a lot out of it, but use them with caution.
Dose responsibly.
Exactly.
That's-
Dose responsibly. And like you said before, make it ritualistic. A whole experience.
And I would also argue it's a buddy system thing. That's always a great thing, like super corny, but just like swimming or hiking or anything else that maybe on its own is fine. Have someone else there with you, especially if you think something might come up, because you actually might find a euphoric, better overall experience than you ever would have, and you might not have been able to get yourself there on your own.
So before we leave, I got to ask you the question
Okay.
that we ask everybody.
Oh,
It's the finale every time. I love it. I'm actually
Wait, hold on.
I am super excited for the answer to this one.
oh gosh.
So I want to know one person, dead or alive, that you could sit down to dinner with, ask any questions to. Who would it be? And we get some crazy answers here.
Yeah, but mine's not cool. I was asked this also recently. I kind of,
Who asked you? I want to have a word with them.
I don't know, I was on a show. They copied you. I should tell them that. I probably would want to, sit down with one of my relatives that passed on, like my mom or my late first husband, or I don't know, like someone that I know, probably.
Okay.
Because you always have those things that you wish you said or you wish you knew, and then, that kind of stuff. And it's just like a closure thing. But I've even come because of my own experiences with that stuff around to, I don't know, if you just get in the right trance state, you could probably have that conversation
You're absolutely right.
in the higher plane.
Yes, that's at this point 100%.
So it was like the lamest ending.
No.
Done. End.
No. That's listen. I have my answer is also similar to that too. And then I give my other answer when I
For fun.
want to have fun. You
Yeah.
know. So who would your fun answer be?
And maybe Einstein.
That's not lame.
Yeah, that's not lame at all.
Because there's a special theory of relativity, the theory of relativity. So Einstein, said that all of his big ideas, big theories and posits didn't come to him necessarily from an initial mathematical calculate, like the way people imagine sometimes, like he was doing these complicated mathematical things, right? And then he was like, Eureka! Wasn't like that at all. A lot of these were theorems that came to him in a dream. Just like Dali, a lot of the most of the creators, Martin Luther King Jr., right? I Have a Dream, say that their vision for this new way of seeing reality came from a thought or a dream that they then said, now how would that happen? And then they worked through on getting to it. And then he had to come back and adjust his theories. Now, the reason I'm really curious about that is because I've been studying a lot around sort of consciousness and what is reality and metaphysics. And I'd be curious with what's happened now where people have taken his theorems, I would love to ask him like how he feels about some of that. But that's what a nerd I am. That would be my other person.
Einstein would be an awesome.
I just heard that dream thing about Einstein recently on a podcast too. So yeah, no, they were talking about the importance of like when you wake up after having a dream, pause and think about it.
Yeah. You have like a very short amount of time from when you wake up to remember like what went on in your dream. But like I dream every night. I experience like later in the day I'll see something, and right away like something triggers like oh my god, I just had that in my dream last night.
Yeah,
and then I remember a hell of a lot more.
That's all from the divine. That's because, well, I believe in synchronicity and that there's no coincidence now. But also, have you thought about or do you know about lucid dreaming?
I've lucid dreamed a bunch actually.
Yeah, so that's another really cool thing that you can teach yourself, and it's really, really powerful tool for anxiety, depression, OCD, and those kinds of things, because you basically learn to regulate yourself.
Yep.
And through the dream state, you do the scenarios, and then in your wakeful state, you can do that. So but you also can get insight into, why do I keep seeing a purple kangaroo? What the hell is that? Right?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, the purple kangaroo is at the place where you're supposed to go in and meet Mrs. Butterfinger number 2. I don't know, but that could be it, right? So it's really all of the instructions to have the best life for us are here. We just don't often recognize the signals. And I think that psychedelics and dreaming and mindfulness help you be more visibly and intuitively connected, with those signals. Yeah. And then that ultimately gives you peace. And when you feel a little more peace, you have a little less agita, and everything kind of just falls into place.
We need a lot less agita.
I got one more question for Mario. What year did Einstein pass away?
Einstein, I think he passed away. So he was probably, I want to say, in his 30s or 40s during World War II. So maybe he passed away in the 60s.
Wow, 1955. I'm so
wow,
glad you had a good answer on that.
Come on, dude.
I feel like a lot of people you ask that, like, they think he's from like the 1700s.
Like Picasso. Like no one would think that Picasso was from the 1900s.
Yeah.
Like that gets a lot of people.
Phyllis wouldn't have known.
Phyllis got no clue over there. She's 14 years old.
She had drinks with him last week. She knows him so well. Jacqueline, that was his wife. They're like this. Thank you. I know. I kind of wish I had cooler answers at the very end.
This was a fantastic interview. I'm a big podcast guy. And aside from sitting down with this guy and a new guest every week, as of a few years ago, I just can't get enough of podcasts. And it's funny because everyone always asks me what kind of podcast you listen to, and every time I tell them, they're like, that's nothing like The Oven. So this was cool for me because I felt like I was living in a podcast that I would consume
you said
on the regular.
Huberman. I'm like, I feel like really that's a compliment, because I was like, this is so lame, but I'm glad it was good. I'm glad it was good for you.
No, this was such a fulfilling conversation, and I'm so thankful that you made the trip. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm glad I came.
Thank you. That was so much
good
fun.
to see you.
So
Thank
much
you.
fun.
And guys, we're the Oven Podcast. Follow us on all socials. Keep sharing the show. Rate the show. Give us 5 stars on YouTube. Spank that subscribe button. And don't forget, there's always an open seat for you at The Oven.
Yes, sir.
Keep it cooking in the oven.